Alright, I'm trying to eat my lunch, but I'm gonna get started anyways, because this idea just kind of dawned on me as I'm sort of winding down and I'm getting ready to leave on a 6 month vacation. Right? I know I keep bringing that up, but just in case anybody's not aware, if I don't upload for 6 months, that's why. So, and believe me, it's not gonna be much of a vacation. It's like some work program. Anyways, I'm gonna talk today about something that kind of came into my mind today, where I've been spending all this time setting up my desktop, getting that all ready, but also setting up my laptop that I'm going to bring with me. And I'm kind of looking for a home away from home kind of thing. So I ended up going with Fedora for my desk or for my laptop because I need something that just fucking works, supports all my shit out of the box. And I brought a little rescue USB with me, so in case like in case like it catastrophically fails for whatever reason, I can always back it up. And I thought to myself, should I bring a Windows USB, like Windows 11 or something, so I can, install Windows in case I need it for whatever reason? And I'm not doing that. And it's kind of been a long fucking journey going from Windows to Linux, right? Because even though I started when I was like 13, or 12 or whatever age I was, uh, I never quite stuck with it, right? But I started learning those skills very early on. And honestly, if I had tried today, it would have been a lot easier because back then you had to like try and figure out how to ask people on an IRC server if it was active in case you needed help with something, and you had to just hope that they were nice to you. And a lot of that's changed, right? But it kind of made me realize I'm like, okay, Windows probably would work for my use case. Why am I not using it when everything depends on my operating system being stable? Because, like I've said before, I run a semi annual release channel of like Windows 11 education, right? And that's all cool and all. But when I think about the level of control I require over my computer, right? Because the longer Windows goes on, the worse it becomes, and the more people start complaining about it. And I'd rather be using an operating system from a project that like gives a shit, that actually cares about user experience, that cares about preserving your user space, so that you don't have like problems updating, where updating a system doesn't have to be a complete transition. Like I was at a like I do some work at a pawn shop, right? And the guy asked me sometimes, why don't you just upgrade my computer to Windows 10? And I said, honestly, if I upgrade you to Windows 10, not only are you going to have a day of downtime, but I can't guarantee that everything that worked on Windows 7 will work on Windows 10. I don't fucking know. And I can't say the same about Linux, where if I upgrade Linux, I'm expecting everything to work exactly as it has been, with maybe some like interface changes, something fucking minor. But I'm not expecting software to stop working. I'm not expecting peripherals to stop working. All that should continue working as is. My setup should not change because XFCE added Wayland support, you know? And that's kind of what that's kind of the reason why I don't really recommend Windows for. I mean, like it works fine, right? Windows kind of works fine, and I'm sure you can get used to Windows 11 and do everything you were doing before, and you should be fine for it, right? But when I think about like how proprietary it is, and how if something changes in Windows and it crashes, that is never at fault of the user. The user didn't go around and fuck up system files. Microsoft did that for you. And Linux has a level of control that you don't get with a proprietary operating system. You can always strip whatever you want out and add whatever you want back in. And if one distribution doesn't do things the way you want it to, there's another one out there that probably does. And that's something I really need with my computer. Is I need the interface I choose, I need the software I choose, and I need everything to. I need like the features of Linux at this point too, because I've got a 4 terabyte SSD, right? So here's kind of the migration I've been going through. I've got an 8 terabyte mechanical hard drive, and it runs it on NTFS because it was originally for Windows. But as I moved to Linux, I got kind of tired of having to deal with NTFS. Like, it works fine most of the time, but not always, you know? And I just don't want to fucking deal with NTFS anymore. But since Microsoft doesn't support real file systems except exFAT, I had to format my SSD as exFAT. And I also formatted a 4 terabyte hard drive as XFS. And honestly, what I may do actually is I may format that one because now I backed up that entire 4 terabyte XFS drive to my SSD. I may format that drive as exFAT so that it's compatible. The only thing is, well, Gentoo doesn't have exFAT progs installed by default, which is fine. You know, I'm not expecting to run Gentoo forever, and I know how to get it working if I need to. But well, that's one thing that I've been thinking about. You know, is like what do I need from Windows, and what can I do with Linux that I can't do with Windows? And the answer is not really all that much. For the stuff I do, I can do everything on both operating systems just fine, you know? It's just Windows doesn't support my file systems on Linux. It doesn't have the package management I want. Like Winget, Chocolatey, and fucking what do they call it? Scoop and all that. Those exist, right? You know, package managers exist for Windows, but they don't always add the integrations that you're expecting. Like I'll have like VLC installed, but it, you know, doesn't launch the same way or whatever, or it updates a different way now, even though it has. Because like if you remember, the way Microsoft apps update is, as long as you didn't get them from the store, is they have to have their own auto updater built in. You know, you don't have repositories on Windows, which I guess you can say is a decent thing, you know, where all your software updates independently of each other. So if your repository is down, you can still update things, but you know, whatever. We don't have that in free software. You know, we have repositories where everything updates from like a mirror, and it's cool. But this is kind of going to be more of a video of like why I'm not using Windows on a computer that I'm actually depending on, because everybody knows that Linux has got its quirks, right? You know, even on my desktop, I still run across problems with various pieces of software, and I don't expect it to be the most stable thing on the planet. But then again, I can't expect that of Windows anymore either. So we're now in this age where like shit just breaks for no fucking reason, and if you desire stability, you're going to make sacrifices. That's kind of why I'm using Fedora, because Fedora can break, but I'm not expecting it to, you know. So, you know, we'll see. They hold back releases regularly, which I would much rather you hold back releases if you don't feel like they're ready than like fucking just throw shit in an update, you know. Well, we've already talked about Arch. Yeah, and that's why I use semi-annual release channel of Windows, is because Windows is releasing features that aren't fucking ready yet. They push them on you and then your fucking computer breaks. And like, how do you expect people to trust your operating system if they're having to go jump through all these fucking hoops to install an enterprise version of your operating system, you know? Like, it just doesn't make sense. But the other thing I kind of want to talk about is activation of Windows, because this is kind of the part that makes me feel a bit icky. Is I have bought Windows license keys in the past. I've either gotten them from work or I've gotten them from, you know, bought a used one online or whatever, one of those OEM keys. Or at one point I think I had a full fucking license, and because I upgrade my computer every so often, it will eventually revoke that license, and I can't be fucked jumping through the hoops anymore. But now that I'm using education, I also don't have a way to buy that license key legitimately. So I end up using PowerShell scripts to to activate Windows for me. And it has currently a feature built in called hardware ID activation, which you can do this all by yourself if you're like a wizard at Windows. You can fucking write this script yourself and do everything. It's a few commands. But there's also tools available to automate these scripts, and they'll activate your computer in a way that it cannot be revoked, which is important. Uh, and I kind of don't like my operating system being licensed to me. I don't really like licensing software. Uh, Steam, mostly works. I've actually had a few games revoked from Steam because they were using external, like Ubisoft games would have a license key, and if I deleted the Ubisoft account, I lost my game, but I still own it on Steam. So I've got a few games like that. I really hate doing that too. And, you know, to what extent do you accept licensing? You know? Like, if you're running a proprietary operating system that has a license that can be revoked at any time, how much do you trust that? And that's kind of the situation I'm finding myself in. Is I don't want to put trust in an operating system that can revoke itself from me for no reason. And with proprietary software, you just don't really have the option. You gotta you gotta deal with it as it comes. And that's kind of where the crux of our argument comes from. Is that when things change in a proprietary operating system, you have no recourse as a user. You kind of just have to roll with it and hope that the changes that they make are good. And that is something that you really don't have to deal with as much in free software. Your distribution will have its own like direction it's going in. Like personally, I wouldn't make Arch the fully system D. I would definitely have init freedom, but somebody forked it and made Artix. So you have that option now. And like desktop environments will do what they do. GNOME is always under constant fire for not doing shit or doing weird shit. KDE, I don't even want to talk about KDE. Oh god, that's a whole mess of code right there. I'm gonna go into that real quick actually. So I was on Void Linux and I installed KDE, and I tried to, I think it was set a wallpaper from Dolphin, and I must have been the only person that's tried this because it was reliant on a Qt package that shipped with Qt tools, I think, which is a huge fucking package. It's like a developer package for KDE. And I didn't realize that the desktop had dependencies in that toolkit. And so I tried to message Nico or Nikolai or whatever the fuck his name is, the KDE dude on YouTube, Nico, I think. And I said, hey, do you know anything about this Qt bullshit? I didn't say it like that, obviously I was very polite, but while I was asking him, I also asked the Void maintainers what was up because it was their package. I asked their maintainer, and he said, holy shit, there's like, there's some weird fucking dependencies in here because KDE actually has a way to set wallpaper from the command line, and it ships with it, and it should work. But Dolphin doesn't realize that. Dolphin instead uses the Qt5 toolkit, which is getting a complete rewrite in Qt6. And personally, I don't know enough about it, but what little I've had to interact with it, it seems like it's a fucking mess, basically. And I don't know. I don't know if I like that so much. It's cool that it's community driven and it's not like corporate backed like GNOME, but when I'm running into issues like that where there's like weird hooks and fucking references and shit to stuff that shouldn't be installed with the default KDE installation, if we're talking more minimalist, really, like there's no reason you should need Qt5 tools for a desktop. But I don't know. Maybe that's something I'll contribute someday. I will rewrite their fucking Dolphin wallpaper launcher in their command line tool. Who knows? But Anyways, that kind of brings me back to what I was saying, where with free software, you can pick a project that goes in the direction you like, and it will do pretty much what you want. I value having my computer set up the way I like it, not the way that somebody else likes it. Because if somebody else likes it, chances are I don't fucking like it, because that's what I'm discovering in Linux lately. Is there's a lot of shit that ain't really ready yet, but it's being adopted as if it is ready, and I need the option to go back, where it's like, hey, this shit isn't working for me. I need an alternative. And having that alternative is, important. Because if something doesn't work on Windows correctly, you're fucking boned. There's no changing those system files to strip out, like, explorer.exe and put in something new. You gotta wait for Microsoft to fucking add their tab file explorer without using some really janky third-party application. And that's what I really hated about using Windows, is there are a lot of cool projects to make Windows more usable and more, like, customizable, but a lot of them stop working after a while. A lot of them are very hacky system patches that can break your system. And because you're not able to modify system files correctly, there's not a lot of user control over the operating system, and because of that, you get people that whine over, on the internet about it, where they're like, "Oh, I fucking hate Windows. Windows sucks. I'm gonna fucking use Windows because I don't know Linux. I can't switch." You know, uh, and I kind of wanted to talk about, like, YouTubers that complain about Windows, because it is a really good time to be a Linux YouTuber. I mean, I spew a bunch of bullshit on my channel that I really know nothing about, but I'm still regularly getting hundreds of views, as well as I mentioned it in my last video, but I ended up on the front page of an Invidious instance. So clearly I'm making some sort of reach, and I barely advertise this channel. Like, I'm in, I think, like one group chat where I let people know that I have a channel. No, actually two, but that group chat is between, like, two friends and I. So I really haven't advertised my channel at all. And you know, like, I'm still getting reach. So if there's any hope for you, if you want to, like, pick up a microphone and start talking, you can do that. But this video is really gonna kind of gone too long now that I think about it, because I went on, like, several different tangents and none of it probably made any sense. So I'm just gonna stop now, just in case. All right, I'll see you.